All right, from the desk of Solomon 11. Um, it is February 17th, 9:18 p.m. And the knot, the knot in my stomach. And I'm reading out of the 1 year love language minute devotional. And here's the prayer. Father, thank you for making us distinct individuals. It's so easy to get annoyed with some of my spouse's personality traits that are different from mine. Please help me to view those as a gift instead of a problem. Help me to learn from my spouse. And um, I'm a widow today. And yeah, and it's really hard um, to start again, right? Um, because I really liked Bill as a person, um, more than love, right? I mean, uh, he was an easygoing man, um, and he was an introvert. Um, so I could go on for hours, right? I could chatter, 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 and so he was a man that remained silent, and um, so many, so many relationships before Bill. I just felt um, that a man would talk down to me, and so uh, when I met Bill, I was selling books out of a flea market, and I had been doing that when I first came back from Abilene. I mean, into Abilene from Dallas, and it was just something my parents were doing. They seemed to have fun at it, and I love books so much that I thought I'd give it a shot. And there was one guy in this flea market that he just bought everything, right, and just um, stuffed it in this one little corner of the in his booth, and he didn't organize it or anything. It was like kind of potluck kind of thing. So when I got a booth across from him, I just kind of made it inviting to browse, right? And then the best part of the booth, I was there. um, Blair didn't want contact with the public. He just believed in the more books I gave you, more books that give you to choose from, you will eventually find something. So it was a numbers game for him, and I wanted to create a booth where people would keep coming back to that booth, for a particular reason. Um, I believed in conversation, and I believe that um, there were people that like to talk about books and share stories, and um, so that's the atmosphere I created, and it worked well for me, right? here out of Romans 12:6. In His grace, God has given us different gifts for doing certain things well. Um, yeah. Um, I just had plenty of time. I was separated from my husband, and the kids were in school. So, at the time, coming from Dallas, I was on a severance package, and I had made so much money in Dallas, like to move to Abilene. There, the unemployment said, "Don't even, don't even show up. Just ride out the year until your benefits ride out." So, because there's nothing in Abilene compared to what you were doing in Dallas. Um, so that gave me like so much free time. And my husband was, truck driver on the road. The kids were in school, and I answered the door one day. It was the Jehovah's Witnesses knocking, right? And I said, "Come in, come sit," because I had the time to listen. And this woman was very loving, and she kept coming back to do all her lessons and stuff. Um, and I was open. I was ready to see, because I had prepared. I prepared to, I had an open calendar. So that's um the difference about spiritual literature. Um, when I have all the time in the world to read, to read, and sit there, and there's nothing. There's nothing um, giving me a speed. I think Richard Carlson calls it slowing down in the speed of life, slowing down to the speed of life. Especially in the information age, right? I've got so much time to put out the material, right? Our universities today. And I just remember the going to school, or going. I now I did in high school. I had an American Lit teacher, Miss I say Miss Blackbird. Um, she was older, and she just loved American literature. And so when she was teaching her classes, she would walk around, and I just remember her breaking down Billy Budd. So what? Herman Melville. And the only reason why, I knew um, this literature was because of her. I mean, she's just, I think the word is enveloped. um, she uh, she had a romance with literature, and that's what I wanted. I wanted to be like her. Um, I wanted to fall in love with the classics. Um, I didn't I didn't want, I didn't want, when I was in her class, I didn't want the information. I wanted the passion. I wanted the romance, the love with the imagery um, that was written. In essence, I wanted I wanted my insides to just flow out, right? The way, yeah. She wasn't, she wasn't a pretty woman. Some people might call her a spinster, but, in the back of my mind, uh, I just wanted to never be married and be in love with books and have all the time in the world um, to read and not have distraction. and so, um, to start that process, I got pretty nerdy and spent hours upon hours in the Cooper library and find a spot and just sit there, and read, look at the word sentence structure. And since I had another English teacher, Ms. Brashears, also single. Um, so these, two single women in my life that were just, that loved the written word. And Miss Brashears in 7th grade taught me how to diagram sentences. And so I knew sentence structure from every morning, you know, diagramming sentences. And it was like, at first I was like, why in the hell am I doing this, right? And, but about the 3rd month, I started really liking it, you know, and, and then I would have these discussions with her about words. And she would look at me and she goes, "You really like doing this?" And I said, "Yeah." I said, "I didn't at first, you know. But I started coming in class early, and because I wanted to watch her write the sentence on the board, and while she was writing it, I was already doing it in my head. So by the time I did go to you know, went to paper, it was just, it's just like, just fell into the place. So, yeah, if I'm into it, I'm early. If I'm into any kind of interaction with someone, I'm early because I'm eager. If I'm late, yeah, I lost passion, right? So I know that about me, right? So I have to be careful to not show that, I guess, to show falling out of passion, falling out of love was something, right? Because it's so, I mean, um, I was always told I wear my feelings on my sleeve, or you know, many of those fiery, quarrels, the little the snitty comments we uh, do between each other when the passion has waned, right? And it's, pretty much nitpicking on how, Love is Blind, and we concentrated on the strengths that both of us have, but like over time, you know, um, what what I never understood, what makes you love me, eventually makes you hate me. And and yeah, I was always confused by that. Like, I I didn't change really. Desire desire changed. Um, Priorities changed. Um, what each person wanted to do, and I think that's why I always feared um, marriage for the mundane, um, and that's why I've always been a true romantic. Yes, yeah. The letters between the Brownings, um, or Shakespearean plays, language in that. Um, so, all in all, um, I never did have boundaries. However, um, you get labels. You get labeled for not having boundaries, right? You're flaky, yeah, out there, and you're a dreamer. So, so at a young age, yeah, my creative side was kind of stomped on by, um, it was a, it was a 10th grade teacher, another English teacher. um, yeah, tickles my throat when I think about her. Um, yeah, I wrote something. I wrote an essay on Edgar Allan Poe. And she she said I was morbid. I used to wear black. Yeah. And I told my dad it was my favorite color. He goes, black is not a color, it's the absence of color. Put a piece, wear some color. If you're going to wear black, wear, you know, because you're scaring people. That was, and I was like, um, I think grunge, it wasn't even grunge, um, it was a movement in the 80s. Um, we listened to a lot of The Cure, and uh, goth, um, early goth, and combat boots and black lace, and you know, I think in the like in the '90s or um, turning the century, um, Twilight kind of reintroduced that. So it became dark, um, and it was not it was not an evil. It was it was it was the only way to separate. Yeah, it was the only way to separate. Um, if you dressed a certain way, um, I think the essence of being dark, quote, morbid, is to be distant and not have connection and to have people fear you by being so totally different, right? And it was a protection. I didn't want to be around people anyway, so I just dressed apart, and people left me alone. So I didn't have to worry. I didn't have to worry about making connection, right? I was able to take up space in a corner, and everybody left me alone. So yeah, is that exactly um, having no boundaries? Well, maybe the thought, right? In thought, yeah, I didn't want anyone telling me what to do, what to think. Um, but um, in order to do my creativity, I had to be set apart, and I did create boundaries with my dress, um, with me not saying anything, and yeah. So it's a catch-22. It needs to be my favorite catch-22. Um, you're damned if you do, and you're damned if you're done, right? And so as I sit in the void on Zoom, it's okay. I mean, why is it okay? Because I didn't want to do it. I did not want to be nice. I just wanted to get the information, and I didn't want to be nice about it. I mean, I was hoping, of course, that I could have discussion, right? Um, but I'm fine being at home and doing this. Um, having the free flow. I've done it so much. Usually, it was easier. to have the dogs here, because I would, have feedback from Sonny's eyes, or every once in a while, Buck would like howl, he was like, he had some woof in him, and and just Buck, Buck was so young, and so just having him as a puppy, I think that's why I started my podcast, because I saw the impact my voice had on Buck, the puppy, and he would be still, just me, basically talking about nothing, right? And he would just sit there. He had these little, he had these eyes that had some gold in them, and so when he would be staring at me, they would just glisten, and he would just sit there and just look at me with so much love. And Sonny had been used to it. I mean, yeah, just free flowing, and um, yeah, Sonny was like, eh, he would get into position, right? Close his eyes and just listen, and that was enough for me to have two dogs that love my voice, right? And they're not here anymore. And it's like you lose an audience, and you wonder, yeah, you wonder who you are in purpose when you lose your audience, right? So that's why I guess teachers do what they do. Um, preachers, or it's all about that audience. You can't be a leader without followers. And for me, did I ever really want to be a leader? No. I just, I guess deep down, I just wanted to be alone. And people thought I was lonely. Because I would like to talk, but I really didn't care what you thought. And then as I grew older, I noticed there were more people that really didn't care what other people thought. All they really cared about is people that would listen to them, right? So, 30 minutes coming up. That's just a snippet of what I think about God. Relationship? It's internal. And this is the closest to God that I ever am. Peace out.